Good evening. My name is Alicia Scott, and I'm going to be presenting on McDonald's missing the mark. My agenda is I have a brief introduction, a glimpse of the problem, discuss planning, business perspective, profit loss, reputation and consistency, management tools, strategy, and my recommendations. How many times after a long night out do you find yourself heading to your local 24-hour McDonald's drive-thru for that end of the night meal? You and your friends are excited to satisfy that hunger after a night of cocktails, only to pull up to a line a mile long and hardly moving. This is a common occurrence when you visit these 24-hour store locations. This paper is going to take a look at why this is the case at all late-night franchises and what the fast food giant is missing in its operations and business structure to provide a better late-night experience. What things are contributing to the long waits and lack of efficiency? When we look at the situation with McDonald's, there are different things that contribute to the late night wait times. A business is only as successful as its people and its operations. If you do not have a solid operational plan or strategy in place to address any anticipated challenges that can come up daily, you are not prepared to run a successful corporation. In addition to operating successfully, you must effectively plan and strategize how any additions to services will go. In this case, we are going to look at how the lack of organization and planning can result in an unsatisfactory experience for customers. More specifically, how do you offer a late night service and make it successful and beneficial to your employees and customers? There are many different parts of planning. Planning is defined as choosing a goal and developing a method or strategy to achieve that goal. The first part of planning is setting goals. These should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. When doing this, you want to ensure that your entire team takes part and is in agreement, and that each person commits to these goals. Next, you want to ensure you have an action plan, the specific steps, how, people who, resources what, and time period when for accomplishing a goal in place for a proper execution. We must also think about our organizational environments. To do this, we have to look at our external environments, the forces and events outside a company that has the potential to influence or affect it. McDonald's offers 24-hour drive-thru services at many of its locations. However, the wait times and lines leave customers frustrated. Why is this happening? From a business perspective, there are many issues that are contributing to the failed late-night option. For example, Giamona writes, in 2015, fast food workers held a rally in 236 U.S. cities on a Wednesday in their biggest protest yet for higher pay and union rights. Having employees that are willing to provide services require that they receive a livable wage. Most fast food employees make minimum wage or less, but have the expectation to work long hours with inadequate compensation. Giaimo also says the events were organized by the union-backed Fight for a $15 campaign, which is demanding that McDonald's Corporation and other fast food chains raise their minimum wages to $15 and let workers unionize. Another issue that can contribute to late night service failure is profit loss. Profit loss can be caused by many factors. The Associated Press states back in 2002, McDonald's struggled with reaching earning targets. The company is struggling with a crowded restaurant market, complaints about poor service, and a depressed stock price. These are critical factors that can contribute to the downfall and poor operations of an organization. Reputation affects any organization. Your reputation is what keeps customers returning. McDonald's has had challenges over the years with this. Author New wrote, a generation of cynical middle-class customers have already decided that McDonald's is a tarnished brand. Consistent operations are also critical when you have organizations like McDonald's that are located globally. New also wrote, despite the great strides that McDonald's has made in some markets, its progress and practices have not been uniformed. When an organization does not remain consistent and present on the same page as all its operational stores, it causes customers distrust and the assumption that all stores function the same. Now that we have looked at causes that can contribute to the deterioration of the late night drive-through services at McDonald's, what tools and management could be used to address these challenges? The first thing I think would be beneficial would be more for the organization to perform a SWOT analysis, looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which is an assessment of the strengths and weaknesses in an organization's internal environment and opportunities and threats in its external environment. This can help them look at how to increase the internal strengths they have and reduce the internal weaknesses and external threats. This would allow for the organization to develop a solid strategic plan that would be passed down to all levels of leadership, allowing for a consistent process for all stakeholders to follow. Another way to address these challenges is to think about using different strategies to get them on the right track. Maybe thinking about implementing a stability strategy, which is to continue doing the same that the company has been doing, but do it better. When it looks at its 24-hour service options, you would not want to end that service, but look at how it can be done better to reduce customer frustration. Another option, though not ideal, is implementing a retrenchment strategy, which would be turning around a very poor company performance by shrinking the size and the scope of its business, which could look like taking the service away and rethinking how to offer it. After looking at this issue, I have a few recommendations I would make to help rectify the matter. Let's look at the issue of staff and wages. An assumption I would make, having waited in one of these long lines, is staffing. There are usually maybe 3 staff working during these late night hours. How could we attract more staff to work the overnight hours? Expectancy theory. Expectancy theory states people will be motivated to the extent to which they believe that their efforts will lead to good performance, and that good performance will be rewarded, and they will be offered attractive rewards. In this case, offering a bonus or time and a half to staff willing to work this late shift. Money is always a motivator for people to take on different roles and have more flexibility within their schedules. I would also recommend ensuring that equity theory is thought of by the management team. Equity theory states people will be motivated when they perceive that they are being treated fairly, which is a critical piece to any organization. Most poor performing employees have reasons why they choose to give the least amount of effort to the employer, and that usually is tied to how they are treated, and I can attest to this. Managers always need to ensure their staff feels respected and valued, from the lowest level employee to the highest ranking official. When employees feel that they are being treated with respect and are valued by their organization, they tend to invest more in the organization and job performance increases. When we pull up to a McDonald's drive-through to see a long line and wait time that seems to take forever, we don't tend to think about the why. We instead get frustrated at the employees who are just trying to do their job and don't stop to think, why is it there are only 3 of them? Or when they have an attitude, is it because they are dealing with the issues listed in this presentation? Employees are only as good as the organization they work for, and if that organization is not providing them with solid operational plans, support, or structures in place to allow them to be successful, it should be no surprise the service and failures we see and get are happening. I believe McDonald's needs to rethink its 24-hour options to make it better than it currently functions. I would be lying if this service was not ideal on those late nights, but waiting over an hour because you're not adequately staffed and putting unnecessary strain on your employees doesn't seem worth it. McDonald's needs to set aside having just a profit mindset and figure out how to improve this service so that the service received during the day is consistent at night.